All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bsing Sports Week a lot. We're happy to have you here with us. As always, Bill, Ryan, right there, my partner in crime.
Week 6.
Week way not enough. So today on our particular Bsing Sports episode, we're going to be discussing the Alain Vigneault firing in Philadelphia, along with the Terrian firing, obviously his assistant coach. We'll discuss the quote-unquote quarterback controversy in Philadelphia because no other city does it like Philadelphia does when Gardner Minshew shows out. And then, as we've been doing all NFL season, we'll give you our predictions for tomorrow's games. So let's start with the Flyers. As you can see, we got the captain, Claude Giroux, in the background here. And Ryan, what do you got for AV, man?
Yeah, so the Flyers organization decided to part ways with Alain Vigneault and assistant coach and power play head coach Michel Therrien after 2.5 years. The Alain Vigneault tenure got off to a fantastic start in 2019. As we all remember, Flyers were one win away from an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They just, they got taken down by the Islanders in 7 games. Great series that was. All 3 wins coming in overtime for the Flyers. And, everybody, the future was bright for the Flyers. They're such a young team. The core, they finally looked like they'd figured it out on defense. I think they allowed less than, just over 2 goals a game or something like that as a team. Carter Hart played brilliantly when he was, showing out, splitting time with Brian Moose Elliott. Everything was sky high for this team. And even in the beginning of 2020, the following season, the Flyers, got off to a great start, and then COVID struck this team. And I think that outdoor game against Boston really was kind of the downhill where it was, basically the Phantoms against the Boston Bruins. And the Flyers got embarrassed on ice naturally, as they should have, playing a bunch of minor leaguers against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So that kind of started a downward spiral for this team. They ruggedly got through 2020 as a very porous team, did not make the playoffs. And then 2021 was more of the same from the end of 2020, where the team just did not look good. They just broke their 10-game losing streak with a 4-3 win over the Vegas Golden Knights last night. Mike Yao, who was the penalty killing coach, is now the head coach, replacing Alain Vigneault. He is the interim head coach, so he has no secure job there. My initial thoughts on it were I would have liked to have seen Alain Vigneault fire Michel Therrien a little bit earlier. That was an interesting hire as power play coach because Michel Therrien as a head coach was known for winning games 1-0, 2-1. When he was with the Canadiens and the Penguins, he was notorious for winning close, low-scoring games. So it was an interesting hire to put somebody like that with that kind of resume as your power play coach. Ideally you'd like to score goals. And it showed under his tenure in charge of the power play that they just never could get it going. They were never elite. Giroux, who has been a power play master over the last 12 years, was never, the same type of player on the power play. And conveniently enough, in two or three games under Mike Yao, he has 2 or 3 power play points, I believe. So, quick turnaround there. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Is I would have liked to have seen Vigneault stay with a different power play coach because I think ultimately over the last 2.5 years, it's probably been their weakest point. That and defensively, they've looked non-existent at times.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, first thoughts were, in my opinion, I thought it was a little bit overdue. The AV firing, in addition to the Terrian firing, there's you, me, Frankie of one of our other podcasts, Talking 215, Jake, we had all discussed how great the signings of Ellis and Risto and everything was and how we had a great offseason. And once we got Hayes back and Ellis was good, we were going to have a good year. And we even discussed how far in the playoffs we thought they were going to go because looking at on paper, this team has a lot of talent. The fact that they waited as long as they did. Look, the Flyers got out to a hot start this season. I think they were like 4-1-1 at one point. And now
they were 7-2-2 or something like that. Yeah, they did get off to a great start.
Now they're sitting here at 9-12-4, just to tell you how bad that they've fallen down the rabbit hole there. And in those times, as you pointed out, the defenses look lost. Carter Hart looks like he's out there being hung out to dry. You can't blame everything on Hart. And I think they've rushed Hayes and Ellis back from their injuries, and now they're both injured again. And that's got to do with coaching in the organization and also the player. Like, you should probably be able to say, like, no, I don't think I'm right. But
Yeah,
as a
but I mean,
whole, the organization had started to look slightly like a joke. Teams were coming in here and beating us by 3 and 4 goals, and that's just an embarrassment. So for me, it was a little bit overdue, the AB and Therrien firing. It's worth noting that in their 9-game losing streak, or the 8-game losing streak, I know it got to 10, but in the 8-game losing streak in which AB was fired, they had not scored over 2 goals in 7 of those 8 straight games. In all 4 games since AB has been fired, the Flyers have put up 4 or more goals. They lost 2 of those games. They finally break the losing streak last night against the Golden Knights, as Ryan pointed out. But then they got to turn around. They play again tonight at 9 p.m. my time against the Arizona Coyotes, and that's a bad Coyotes team. You need to capitalize. You need to get a W. I'm pretty sure the Coyotes' leading scorer right now is Shane Gostisbehere. Is that correct?
I know at one point he was one of the leading contributors, not just on the he's actually the leading contributor, but
he is. He's their
NFL, he was in like second or third place in terms of percentage of like teams' goals accounted for. But at this point in time, I think Arizona had played 16 games and they had only scored like 30 goals at a team. So it was a little misleading that he was on the ice or helped out on 50% of their goals. He does have a lot of assists this year, not to take anything away from him, but when your team is, averaging less than 2 goals a game, that's a little bit of a misleading stat.
Yeah, that's fair. But as for other information on that, hopefully the Flyers can get this figured out. Like I said, we pointed it out in the offseason. There's just too much talent on this team for them not to figure it out and start winning some games. They're second to last in their division right now, and that's just not acceptable for a Philadelphia team.
Well, I think that's why the firing happened this early. I would have liked I said, I think after last year, I said in the offseason that Alain Vigneault deserved another shot because of 2019. However, they just were not getting it going this year for, sustained success. Like we said, we got the losing streak up to 10 games. But with a team this talented, there was no excuse. Granted, Ellis had played probably about 3 games, I think, as a Flyer. There was no excuse for, just the lapse of team. Like, just the team just looked bad. There was no excuse for that. This is probably the most talented team that Alain Vigneault had as the Flyers, head coach. So there's just no excuse for it. And I'm glad that they got rid of him this early. I am curious, though, if they stick with Mikey out for the rest of the year, or if they go after one of the 2 big names that's been thrown around for head coaching replacements, one being John Tortorella, who, as we all know, as Flyers fans, was a longtime head coach of the Rangers, just like Alain Vigneault was. And then Rick Tocchet, actually, as Flyers fans are very familiar with him because he made his heyday was a Flyer. So out of those 2, which one would you probably like to see hired?
Honestly, I'd probably go with Tocchet. We've experimented with the old Rangers coach to see how it went. It didn't go well. Let's bring somebody else in here, somebody you're familiar with. The organization's very familiar with him. He's familiar with the organization and the city. He could take it. So I think Tocchet would be the better of the 2 choices there. Dad spelled it wrong, but he said the same thing, Tocchet.
Yeah, I actually think we should go the Tortorella route here. I think Philadelphia organizations as a whole have a tendency to hold on to, they find these roles for former players in their front office. And I've said on this show before, great example of that is Bobby Clark. Bobby Clark is the main reason we won 2 cups in the 70s. He's also the main reason we probably didn't win any cups in the 90s.
That's true.
He completely mishandled the Eric Lindros situation, who was probably the most talented Flyer to ever don orange and black. As I've said before, yes, I know Bobby Clark had a fantastic career, but Eric Lindros was one of those types of players that would have succeeded in any era. So I think that, always reverting back to former players because they know the city, because they know the fan base, because they're familiar with the team. I think that's probably why the Flyers didn't push as hard for Rod Brindamore when he was first on the head coaching free agency market. So I think we should go the Tortorella route. He's not soft. He's not going to let these players get away with anything. He's not soft-spoken like Alain Vigneault was. He's a very down-to-earth, very forthcoming type of head coach. His players have butted heads with him sometimes, as it's been reported. But, I think he would definitely potentially right this ship. And to comment on what Ken said, the captain stays, period. I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, that was the next question I was going to bring up. Right after the Flyers fired Alain Vigneault, social media in Philadelphia went absolutely insane, saying that it was time to completely blow it up and rebuild. Claude Giroux hasn't won anything. It's time to get Claude Giroux out of here. And depending on what they do in the next 10 games here, he could very well be out of here to retool. And I mean, he's still got the ability. He's still got the talent. He's
a leading scorer.
He's still a great hockey player. They could get stuff for him, which is why I don't think he's safe. In the past, we've said like it's not him. He really doesn't need to go anywhere. But if this team in the next 10 games can't string 8 wins together, I'm very confident that they're blowing it up. And if that's the case, Yo probably gets to finish the season, and then they'll go get somebody in the offseason to coach the team next year. But while I would love for G to be a lifelong Flyer, his number is still, regardless of whether he gets traded or not, going to hang in the rafters at Wells Fargo at one point in time. But like I said, in the next 10 games, we're really going to figure out what the Flyers are made of. If they can bounce back from adversity, and if they can, then great. But if not, then I believe he's out of here. What's your thought on that?
It's a delicate situation. Claude Giroux has a complete no movement clause. He can block any trade that the Flyers decide to give him. So ultimately, if he does get traded, he will obviously choose a contender, a team like Colorado, Tampa, if they even have cap space for him. Somebody that's going to compete and win a cup. Because truthfully, as a Flyers fan, and as a diehard G fan, he's one of my top 3 favorite Flyers of all time. The only reason he's going to get traded is to go win a cup. And people complaining, we haven't won anything because of Giroux. That's fine. Let's go deal him. Let's go have him win his cup. Maybe he comes back in the offseason, on a deal with the Flyers because he's a free agent after this season anyway, which leads me to my next point. If the Flyers miss the playoffs this year, I guarantee you they let Giroux walk. Tell him one day whenever he's done playing, he can come retire as a Flyer. However, go chase that cup, young man. You're 33, going to be 34 next year. Time's running out. So, and like you touched on, he's still an impactful player. Easily could play on the first or second line of any contending team. Great set of hands still, great puck, great ice awareness, great movement of the puck. And quarterbacking of the power play. So he's definitely got some skills. We could definitely get something in return for him. However, I think it's not likely to doubtful that he gets traded, but if the Flyers do not make the playoffs, he's not coming back in the offseason. I think that'll be a mutual agreement.
Which is a shame, as Ken pointed out here. It is a shame, as you pointed out. He's also one of my top 3 favorite Flyers of all time. I've got him, Leclerc, and Briere up there.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's a little.
So it's funny. You picked all the wingers. I have all the centermen that they played with. I have Giroux, Mike Richards, and Eric Lindros.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. But yeah, I just don't understand the people that say that it's his fault, the reason they haven't won a cup. He's just one person, right? I'm not mistaken this. He's not playing every other position on the ice. He's just one guy. It's his fault that they're not winning cups. But all right, fair enough.
Yeah, let's go ahead up and look in Edmonton, and where there's arguably 2 of the best players in the whole league in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and they're going to win the Hart Trophy. One of them's going to win the Hart Trophy. One of them's going to lead the league in points. Rocket Richard potentially. And they'll probably be eliminated in the first round. It happened last year, happened the year before that. They've always gotten, home ice advantage in the playoffs, and they always get eliminated. 1 or 2 players does not a team make. If you look at previous cup winners, Tampa, or even good teams like Florida, Colorado, they're deeper. They're deeper than just Nathan McKinnon. They're deeper than just Alexander Barkov. There's talent all around that team, and that's something that has seriously been lacking for the Flyers for some time now.
For many years. All right, we are going to stick with the Philadelphia tradition or situation here, and we are going to switch to our bread and butter sport here because there's nothing new on the MLB lockout other than it's not looking
11 days. I have a counter on Twitter. I'm back heavily on Twitter. Go ahead and give me a follow at Ryan Bsing Sports.
Yes. Follow him. Follow Bsing Sports as it is. But in addition, it doesn't look like the league and the MLBPA's association are anywhere near a deal right now, so we don't really have a lot of talk.
Association, huh? You're one of those guys that says ATM machine, too.
No. All right. So we're going to switch over to Philadelphia Eagles real quick. And as I pointed out in the opening, in only ways that the city of Philadelphia can do, the media is trying to create a quarterback controversy after this man right here, Gardner Minshew, goes 20 for 25, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers against the New York Jets. Before I rattle off my 5-minute spiel, go on yours.
Yeah, so there is no quarterback controversy. As I pointed out, several times on the podcast, Jalen Hurts will finish the year. You need to see what you have in this guy. However, Gardner Minshew made an intriguing stamp for his name on being the quarterback of next year. It would be interesting to see the Eagles retain him through his rookie contract, which ends after next season. So he'd probably be here in the offseason and next year. However, that would be an interesting dynamic. However, it hurts all the way for the rest of the year. You spent draft capital on this guy, good draft capital, 2nd-round pick. You have to see what you have in him. You have to see what Sirianni can do with him. But to me, I think Gardner Minshew makes an interesting case to compete for the Eagles starting quarterback position next year, just with one performance. And I think even that was kind of the plan all along. I think they traded for him, after they realized that this year's quarterback draft class coming out of college wasn't going to be fantastic. Spencer Rattler really, pardon my French, shit the bed. Sam Howell, has definitely decreased his draft stock. The only quarterback that definitely could be taken in the 1st round is Kenny Pickett. Kaden Slovis really fell off. Malik Willis, he's looking like a Lamar Jackson type, but not as good. So he might not even come out in the 1st round. This trade, I think, was made by design to compete with Jalen Hurts, essentially as if it would be drafting a rookie to compete with Jalen Hurts. And except you only gave up a 6th-round pick to get Gardner Minshew. So that's my theory on it. There's no quarterback controversy for the rest of the year. However, keep your eyes out in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's no quarterback controversy, and I think Nick Sirianni did a great job to squash that as soon as it came out. Right after Gardner Minshew goes out and has the game that he has. One of the first questions that Nick Sirianni was asked in the post-game press conference was, so are you considering even if Jalen Hurts is healthy, starting Gardner Minshew and Nick Sirianni without missing a beat? No, Jalen is the starting quarterback of our football team. Something that Doug Peterson struggled to do with confidence last year, talking about Carson Wentz over the Jalen Hurts situation. He constantly said, we'll have to take a look at the video and review it. Nick Sirianni didn't want none of that game. He come out right away, said, absolutely not. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of this team. And as you pointed out, Jalen Hurts has to be the quarterback of this team.
Highlight Ken's last comment. I want to touch on that for a second. I hate when people say stuff like this. I really do. It's incompetent. No offense, Ken. It's really incompetent when people say stuff like this. They're an NFL football team, okay? They have NFL caliber players on defense. This is like back when the Browns were terrible. People would say, Alabama could roll over the Browns. No, they can't. No, they wouldn't. Alabama would get stopped 10 times out of 10 by that 0-16 Browns team every time. They're an NFL caliber team with an NFL caliber defense. However, their game plan was for Jalen Hurts, as we heard several times throughout that game. They game planned all week for Jalen Hurts to be the starter. That's where they went wrong. Had they game planned for Gardner Minshew, he may not have done as well. It may not have changed the score at all, may not have changed the outcome. However, you say it was the Jets. The Jets went down the field with relative ease on their first 3 drives and scored touchdowns. Fortunately, their kicker was the Eagles' best special teams player that day, missing his first 2 extra points. But I hate when people say stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, it's the Lions, it's the Jets. They're NFL caliber players. They're on an NFL team." So that's my take on that.
No. I'm gonna follow up and agree with you there. While the Jets are not one of the elite defenses in football, and we totally get that, they are NFL players. They do get paid to play, and they go out and they do try, regardless of whether people think that they're just out there like just earning a paycheck or not. Those players are trying. They thought they were going to be able to compete in this game for a good majority of the game.
If they had game plan for Gardner Minshew, I guarantee you that's a much closer game.
And I agree with that. After halftime, they did a much better job stopping Gardner Minshew, just like the Eagles and John Gannon. You and I were texting, and or on Twitter, I don't even remember which one it was at this point, but in the first half, I was saying that Nick Sirianni needed to fire John Gannon at halftime. And I didn't look like it. Huh?
That was awful.
Yeah, the first half was absolutely horrendous. Now, after halftime, John Gannon came out. He had a much better game plan. He admitted after the game that what they were doing, the looks they were giving him during the first half, he wasn't ready for it. He didn't really have a game plan for what they were throwing at him. But he made an adjustment, which is something that he has not done most of the season. He made an adjustment. He saw it, figured it out, said, here's what I can do to stop Zach Wilson, and it was successful. What they did from there on was successful. And I don't think the Jets even scored in the second half, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they finished with 18 points.
They did. Yeah, you're right.
33-18?
Correct. But to circle back to what I was saying with the whole Jalen Hurts, as you pointed out, like second round draft pick, you traded away Carson Wentz, who was your franchise quarterback, to keep this kid. He gets the whole season. I know I've been really hard on him, and I've said several times that I don't think he's the quarterback of the future, and I stand by. I don't think he's the quarterback of the future. But if the biggest thing for me now is I believe that the leash for Jalen Hurts is a lot tighter. You didn't know what you could possibly do in Nick Sirianni's offense with Gardner Minshew, and now you have at least somewhat of an idea. You and I were texting each other the first Dallas Goedert touchdown of the game. As soon as it was done, it was a great throw, and you and I texted each other, and we said the exact same thing to each other. Jalen Hurts underthrows that football.
Oh, Jalen Hurts underthrows that football, no doubt, and it gets picked off because there's a defender over the top and underneath. So if that ball is not thrown exactly where it is, Goddard in stride, away from the safety over the top who was coming in on the play that made a horrendous attempt to tackle Dallas Goedert, that's an interception or an incomplete pass. Hurts doesn't make that throw. However, speaking of Hurts throws versus Minshew throws, the one big difference that Gardner Minshew did that Jalen Hurts needs to do a little bit more is throw to the running backs. Kenny Gainwell and Miles Sanders, I believe, had 8 catches for 55 yards.
Yes, a total of 8
with
total.
Gardner Minshew. This is actually directly from Ruben Frank, who is very known in the Philadelphia area for some of his hot takes. However, this one is spot on. Jalen Hurts needs to throw to his running backs more. And if you look at the history of running quarterbacks, they tend not to do it because instead of dumping passes off, they just run. Lamar Jackson doesn't get his running backs involved in the passing game very much. Mike Vick never really got done so much involved in the passing game. They're tight end happy. That's why Dallas Goedert is probably the number one receiver on this team in terms of targets and looks when Jalen Hurts is at quarterback. And even when Jalen Hurts isn't at quarterback, Devontae Smith had 2 catches, 15 yards last game, and Dallas Goedert 2 touchdowns. He was just all over the Jets last week. So this bye week, maybe they edit the game plan a little bit, tell Jalen get more running back set up pass plays instead of it being the 3rd and 4th look and Jalen Hurts just taking off. But that's what really helped Gardner Minshew, and that's what Jalen Hurts needs to do a little bit more of.
Well, here's the other thing that I noticed. If you go back and you look at video, Kez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, or Devontae Smith, and even Dallas Goedert, one of those 4 individuals while Gardner Minshew was playing quarterback was running a hot route, or not a hot route, a straight route, right down the field, making the safety back up a little bit, creating room underneath. And for some reason, they're not doing that with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And so
the reason being because if that guy's open, he's not going to hit him. He doesn't have the arm strength to do it.
And which is kind of what I'm getting at. Is I don't believe Jalen Hurts the quarterback of the future for all of these reasons. He doesn't utilize his running backs. He dances around behind the line of scrimmage way too much, considering they run an RPO heavy offense, and he can't push the ball down the field. So defenses are able to put 7 in the box, and then it creates havoc in the backfield. So it was the Jets, which is a statement, but Minshew gives this team a different look, and in my opinion, it's a better look. But I stand by Jalen Hurts the quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely going to be some heavy quarterback competition in the offseason. And I've seen rumors now that the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Eagles have all played very well over the last 6 to 7 weeks, that the Eagles could be in the running for a said Kenny Pickett. Before when they had 3 top 10 picks, you're not going to go ahead and reach for a guy who was going to be a mid to late first-round pick. However, now that those picks keep sliding back and back and back because the teams keep doing well, I read somewhere that the Eagles may very well be in the running for a guy like Kenny Pickett, which I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to. Kenny Pickett has made a Joe Burrow-like jump this year. 2 years ago, he was kind of just like an average college quarterback, probably would have been a late day 3 pick. But now, I mean, he's just made great strides as a quarterback. And, that fake slide that he pulled in their last game, I have my opinions on that play. I think it should have been blown dead at the fake slide. However, it was a very smart play on him to take advantage of, rules and basically pause the defense the way that he did. So a guy with that kind of mobility and that kind of arm strength, you can definitely work with. So that would be an interesting pick. If that happened, though, that would with Minshew, Kenny Pickett, and Jalen Hurts all in the same quarterback room, that quarterback factory tag would just oh, man.
So if the Eagles here's you really think the Eagles keep Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew in the quarterback room if they draft Kenny Pickett? Because first of all, Kenny Pickett's probably sitting next year. I don't care who drafts him; he's likely sitting the first year.
Yeah. I mean, he'd have to go to the right spot to. He'd have to go to a team like Pittsburgh. Basically, Pittsburgh, whoever Pittsburgh drafts is probably going to be the only place where the quarterback plays right away. One, because they have all the talent around them. They have 3 good receivers. Granted, Juju Smith-Schuster's on season-ending IR. However, and Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson are there as well. Pat Freiermuth has, made a stamp on the tight end position. And then, obviously, Najee Harris has had a breakout year as a rookie. So that's probably going to be the only place where a quarterback drafted will start right away. It remains to be seen what quarterback goes there, but I actually don't know that Jalen Hurts stays if Gardner Minshew wins this job, because of how thin the quarterback market or quarterback draft class is. You could definitely flip a guy like Jalen Hurts who has NFL starting experience, and granted, he's had his ups and downs. But you could definitely flip them for, a second, a third round pick, even a first for a team that's really desperate for a quarterback that didn't get their guy.
You mean like a Sam Bradford first?
Yeah. I mean, if we got a first for Sam Bradford, we can get a first for Jalen Hurts. That was one of the worst trades I've ever seen, in terms of the Vikings side.
Good for the Eagles.
I mean, granted, we didn't get much out of it. We got Derek Barnett, who is not going to be retained after this year. But
he's a penalty.
Yeah, due to his own, mistakes, his offsides, his just lack of being able to rush the passer at an NFL level. But so I could see Jalen Hurts being dealt if what I said comes to fruition and Gardner Minshew actually wins the job in the offseason, because you're not going to go from starting for a full year to being the backup to a guy who was your backup. That just wouldn't make any sense. So I would definitely ask for a trade, and there will be teams looking for quarterbacks in the offseason.
That's true. And again, as I pointed out, I think Minshew's a better fit for this offense the way Nick Sirianni.
And if they want to squash the quarterback controversy right away, Gardner Minshew has played 1 game. He was very good in that game, though, so they could definitely flip him for, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, maybe.
That's true. They could. I mean, I think he's worth more than the 6 that we gave up for him. As I pointed out in weeks past, he's got a 64% completion percentage. He's got and that's like one of the best completion percentages under qualifying 2nd or 3rd year quarterbacks in history. So the guy's got really good awareness of where his receivers are and where they're supposed to be. He's really intelligent, and for what it's worth, his intensity is off the charts, and I love it. Did you get a chance to see him when his dad finally found him after the game?
No, I did not. I actually missed the second half of the game. I had to go to work.
After the game, his dad found him out in the parking lot while he was dressed up in his Top Gun outfit. And it, just like the emotion, the raw emotion and the love he has for the game and the fact that he played so well, all came to the surface there. And I love that. I love that intensity. I love that stuff out of the players that I want to root for. So, I mean, I take all that into account when looking at it. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably continue to say it as the season goes on, I think Gardner Minshew is a better fit for what the Eagles are offering right now. Jalen Hurts, while on another team, may have more to offer than what Nick Sirianni is getting out of him. What we have sitting here, I think Minshew is the better fit.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that statement. But you want to get into predictions?
I do. We're at exactly the halfway point. We're 30 minutes in. So we made good time on the Flyers and Minshew conversation.
Yeah, and we didn't even touch on the fact that the NHL, with their weak and loose COVID protocols, a lot of the NHL players and the NHLPA came out and made a statement about this today saying they're afraid to participate in the Winter Olympics in Beijing, which is big because NHL players haven't been able to participate in the Winter Olympics for some times. So they haven't been able to represent their countries. They get the opportunity to do it finally in the CBA. And now the NHL comes out with these weak COVID protocols that may have some guys, sit in the pine for some time when they come back to the NHL teams from the lengthened All-Star break. So we will more on that to come. We'll see if they change their protocols. We will see what happens with that. We'll see how many players actually participate in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's something we're definitely going to have to follow. You and I will be right on top of that. All right, so let's go to predictions. Thursday night's matchup was between the Steelers. They visited the Vikings. Vikings come out on top 36-28. It's worth noting the Vikings were up 31-0 at one point and almost lost.
Game wasn't as close as the score indicated.
Yeah, the Vikings were running. Dalvin Cook was running all over the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for a good majority of that game, and then they took their foot off the gas, and in garbage time, the Steelers put up 28 points.
If you're an Alexander Madison owner or a Dalvin Cook owner and you did the wrong thing, as soon as you saw Dalvin Cook healthy, it should have been Cook in, Madison out. Period. Don't bench your studs, guys, especially now around playoff time.
Yeah, seriously. The Vikings are also trying to make a playoff push. They're the 6th wild card right now in the NFC. So first game they got on here is the one that's actually directly affects the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys at 8-4 are visiting the Washington football team at 6-6. This is an interesting game. You and I pointed it out right before we got on the podcast here. If Washington can win this game, go 7-6, the Cowboys drop to 8-5. The Eagles don't move on the bye week, but then next week the Eagles play Washington and rough Washington up. This division's wide open between those three teams. Now, having said that, the game is in Washington.
And you and I are going to pick the same team. Let's go ahead and say it.
Cowboys?
No. I think Washington wins.
So I actually think the Cowboys come out on top on this one. They play the Cowboys again in 2 weeks, and I'm going to take the Redskins in that one.
I have an interesting take on it. Trayvon Diggs leads the NFL in interceptions with 9. However, it's smoke and mirrors. He's actually been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He leads the NFL in long touchdowns given up, leads the NFL in receiving yards allowed, leads the NFL in receptions allowed, and Terry McLaurin feasts on big plays. And that leads into the fact that Taylor Heineke, since week 8, has been, I think, top 5. I think he sits number 3 in the NFL in passer rating at 110. He has only thrown 2 interceptions in that time, and he's playing great football. And he's especially playing great because Antonio Gibson is getting all the touches in the backfield now. His shin injury seems to have healed up, and he's finally getting back to his bell cow role that we all thought he would have. That being said, I think that the offense for Washington is clicking at the right time with a very boomer bust Cowboys defense. And I think, just being in Washington instead of Dallas, I think the football team's defense can play very well. So go ahead and give me the Washington football team 28-24.
All right, I'm actually going to disagree. Like I said, I'm going to take the Cowboys here. And while I agree with everything that Washington's doing on their end, they're playing really, really good football. It's going to be a struggle for the rest of the division throughout the rest of the year. I think Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper is getting healthy again. I'm pretty sure CeeDee Lamb comes back this week too from COVID. Then you've got Ezekiel.
Last week. Amari Cooper was the one on COVID.
My bad. Ezekiel Elliott started to play really well. He's coming on strong here in the last couple of weeks. Not to mention they found ways to utilize Tony Pollard. I know Pollard's doing.
I think Pollard's out this week.
He has not been confirmed out. But apparently he pulled a hamstring or something on that 56-yard touchdown.
No, he hurt his foot. He's got a foot injury. I don't know what the exact terminology is, but he has a foot injury. They're saying he might miss a couple weeks, but I think it's a smoke screen. I think the doubtful or questionable tag's a smoke screen. I don't think he plays.
Okay. Either way, he's not the prime back there anyway, Ezekiel Elliott.
Also, mind you, I think the Cowboys are 2-4 since Dak's come back from his injury.
You're really trying to change my mind on this one.
No, I'm not trying. I just did. I know the look on my face.
All right, fine. I'll switch up and go with the Redskins, but I still think the Cowboys are going to pull this one out. It's not a game I'm betting on.
It's a game
I do like your score, though. 28-24 is what I'm also picturing, regardless of whatever team wins.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So next game is the – you wanted to talk about this. I'm going to let you go on a little go on it. So 2-10 Jaguars are visiting the 8-4 Titans. This Urban Meyer situation. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so Titans here, easy. This Urban Meyer controversy going on, we kind of didn't hear about it for some time, but in the offseason, coaches and players alike were questioning Urban Meyer's ability to lead an NFL team. He did not know the ebbs and flows of an NFL schedule, did not understand how an NFL offseason works, or even early in the weeks of the regular season. And then it kind of died down. It wasn't talked about a lot. And now it's resurfaced in a big way. And there is a lot of chatter inside that Jaguars locker room and outside of it in regards to Urban Meyer's inability to lead an NFL team. The Jaguars front office and upper management made a statement today saying they are sticking with Urban Meyer. To me, that this screams, and you're going to agree with me, this screams Chip Kelly in his third year, where he completely lost the locker room and got fired with one game left. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen because Chip Kelly had started that downfall the year prior, and he was in his third year as the Eagles head coach, whereas Urban Meyer is only in his first year. So I think they would give him the due diligence of only 1 year. However, his big moment was benching James Robinson after he fumbled. And then Carlos Hyde proceeds to fumble right after James Robinson, and yet somehow Carlos Hyde remains in the game, and James Robinson, obviously the more talented of the two backs, does not. That raised a lot of questions about his favoritism for his former players because Carlos Hyde was recruited and played for Urban Meyer at OSU. So there's a lot of, questionable moves being made. I'm assuming, the training and the regimen, not on game day is also coming into question by the players and the coaches. So there's more to come on this. But however, with the Jaguars in disarray, I'm pretty much always going to pick against them without knowing what their schedule is. But go ahead and give me the Titans big here.
Yeah, I'm also going Titans big. I don't have a whole lot to add on the Urban Meyer thing. You brought it to my attention right before the podcast. But you're 100% right. When I was reading the article, the first thing that screamed out at me was Chip Kelly, Chip Kelly, Chip Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, Chip Kelly's players were calling him racist and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I haven't seen any comments like that about Urban Meyer. However, it's the same type of context where your whole locker room is against you at this point.
Yeah. I'm going Titans big here as well, especially since they're in Tennessee.
Yeah, and Tennessee's on a 2-game slide too, so I think they bounce back in a big way. They get Julio Jones back for 3 plays before he hurts his hamstring again.
What is his issue the last couple of years, man?
He's old and fragile, and like I said on Twitter, hasn't stretched for anything in years.
All right.
Probably just rolls out of bed and goes and plays football.
And it used to work for him. Now he's old. He's got to do stuff.
I mean, even since his third year, I think he's been missing games because of injuries. I think he's only had probably 2 or 3 full seasons in the NFL.
It's a shame. Great talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next game on the docket, 4-8 Seahawks going to the 2-10 Texans. Seahawks played really well against the playoff contention 49ers last week. It was a division game. Again, the Seahawks played really well. And the Texans are starting Davis Mills over Tyrod Taylor this week and for the rest of the season. I'm still going with the Seahawks here. However, I don't think it's going to be a blowout in any means. I'm going 24-18, 24-17 type game.
Yeah, actually, the score seems about right to me, too. Russ hasn't necessarily looked like himself since he came back from his injury. I think they rushed him back a little bit. I think if they end up losing this week somehow, some way, Russ ends up on the shelf because they'll be out of it. The rest of their division, is head and heels above them.
Do you think it's a personal decision by Russell Wilson to be on the shelf? Because the Seahawks aren't guaranteed he's coming back in the offseason.
So, interestingly enough about Russell Wilson, did you see that list of 3 teams he said he'd get traded to?
I did. I don't recall them what they were all.
I know the Giants and the Saints were 2 of the teams. I forget who the third team was.
Was it the Broncos? It might have been the Broncos.
Yes, it was the Broncos.
Yeah. So,
two places I'd love to see him go are – and not just because I'm an Eagles fan, but because I'm a fantasy football guy and have shares of Michael Thomas and, Cortland Sutton, Denver, and New Orleans. Those would be great fits for him. Sean Payton would probably turn that around instantly. And I'm not saying that the Saints would be better than the Bucs, but they could definitely hang around that division.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's another thing that we'll keep a close eye on as the year comes out or the year goes on. And then in the off season, we'll continue talking about it. We're doing shows every week. We'll talk about it. We got next game, division game, 6-6 Raiders at the 8-4 Kansas City Chiefs. At one point this season, the Chiefs were 3-4. Now they are 8-4.
Chiefs, big.
So I don't know about big. Every time they've played each other, it's been a pretty good shootout, except for the most recent game they played, where Patrick Mahomes threw for 5 touchdowns. I also have the Chiefs, but I'm calling like a 37-34 game.
I think they got all their struggles out in the beginning of the year. I think they're just going to start steamrolling guys like they would have been predicted to in the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Getting hot at the right time. I could see this being a 2-touchdown game.
5-7 Saints. Taysom Hill starting quarterback. 3-9 New York Jets. I got the Saints here.
Yeah, I got the Saints, but by a very close score. I'd say like 24-20. Taysom Hill's hurt. Didn't look at all effective in his last game, through 4 interceptions, one of which I think was returned for a touchdown. However, I think they will get right, and I think they will definitely win this game, but not by any sort of substantial margin.
What was the score you said?
24-20.
Okay, I said 24-21, so we're on the same page. Now, that only really depends on if the Jets can get a place kicker, because if not, then 24-18.
Yeah, if they miss every extra point.
5-7 Falcons visiting the 5-7 Panthers. Cam Newton.
Interesting game.
What?
Interesting game.
Cam Newton has looked absolutely horrendous the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, if Cam Newton starts, it's the Falcons. If PJ Walker starts, it's the Falcons by a lot smaller of a margin.
I'm also going to go Falcons here, but neither team is good, so I don't know.
The Falcons are a lot better than I thought they would be, though. 5-7. I don't even know that I had the Falcons winning 5 games all year.
The scariest part about this is the Falcons and the Panthers are still technically in the playoff picture.
The NFC playoff picture is really bad this year.
Outside of the top 4 teams, you're right. Outside of
the division winners are pretty, set stone outside of the NFC East. The wild card picture is nuts.
Yeah, you got the Niners, Vikings, Washington football team, Eagles, Panthers, Falcons.
Before we get to the Niners, I want to talk about the Niners.
They are further down the list.
Yeah, I think they either have a late afternoon or the Sunday night game or something like that.
They have a late afternoon game, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Falcons here, but like I said, 17-14, 21-17, something like that.
I actually think it's going to be a score in the high 20s, like 27-24, something like that.
Okay.
I think the Falcons putting up 30.
Another division game. The 8-4 Baltimore Ravens visiting the 6-6 Cleveland Browns.
This is such a hard pick. In our CBS pool, I stared at this game for about 3 or 4 minutes. I was like, where do I go with this? I think that duo back in Cleveland, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, are both on the field.
I think, yeah. Well, I think the reason I'm going with Cleveland is because I think they remedy what they did the last game, where those 2 guys had a combined 15 touches or a combined 9 touches for 15 yards or something like that. The coaching staff of Cleveland is going to remedy that situation. Between the 2 of them, there's going to be 25 to 30 rushes, and they're going to dominate the time of possession in this game, and they're going to come out on top. They're going to beat the Ravens here, making that division.
Speaking of divisional games that are close, as you mentioned, KC and the Raiders, this is another one of those. It doesn't really matter what the records of the team are. They're always going to play tough. But go ahead and give me home field advantage, 37-34. I think we got a shootout on our hands.
I also was going somewhere in the mid to high 30s. I was going 37-34 as well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Depending on the weather, actually, the weather in Cleveland has been pretty bad recently. So if it clears up for Sunday, it'll be a good game. If not, it'll be pretty low scoring, but still a good game.
Next game, the start of the 4 o'clock games, you got the 4-8 Giants visiting the 7-5 Chargers. Justin Herbert and the Chargers are going to absolutely demolish the either Mike Glennon or Jake Fromm led New York Giants. It is Glennon.
Healthy, and he was announced as starter.
Okay, cool. So either way, the Justin Herbert led Chargers are absolutely. Now, having said that, they do have all 3 of their wide receivers on COVID right now.
No. Mike Williams is good. Jalen Guyton's playing. It's just Keenan Allen.
Oh, it's just Keenan Allen now. Okay.
Yeah.
I read the report yesterday. I haven't doubled back and checked on it.
Yeah. So it'll be Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton, and Josh Palmer.
Okay. Well, then they're fine. Yeah. Give me the Chargers here. I'm going 31-17.
I mean, it could have been just Guyton, Palmer, and Donald Parham Jr., and I still would have picked Herbert. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be necessarily a close game. Also, big news, good for the Eagles. The Giants have committed to retaining Joe Judge for next season. So we don't have to worry about them.
The 1-10-1 Lions are visiting the 6-6 Broncos.
What was that line you said last week? There's no way that they win this game. You said something like on any given Sunday, but there's no way that happens this Sunday.
What I said was they can't lose them all, right? But no, they're definitely going to lose this one.
Yeah. It was something along the lines of giving them no credit at all. I told you in divisional games. I picked the Vikings too, but I made the statement that this is divisional games. Be careful.
The Vikings should have never let the Lions be in that game. They were looking forward to the Steelers. The Lions should have never been in that game. Having said that, good for the Lions getting their first win, 1-10-1. Congratulations, Detroit. I said this on Talking 215's podcast on Tuesday night. The way Dan
Campbell haven't checked out.
It's all right. The way Dan Campbell has this team bought in, an 0-10 team, the way they were so excited, he has this team so bought in that if they can find the right pieces, like, I don't know, a good quarterback, they'd be and some wide receivers.
I'll tell you what, Dan Campbell, like, everybody was like, who the hell is that when they hired him as head coach? And then his first press conference was just absolutely amazing. And it was like, you got to give this dude props. And then, but everybody was rolling their eyes like, yeah, whatever, you're just the Lions. The Lions have played some pretty close games against some teams that probably should have beat the crap out of them.
I was going to point that out. I pointed it out on Talking 215. Outside of the Eagles game, they've been in every game.
Outside of tight end, this is easily the least talented team in the NFL. Like, if you look top to bottom, like, their leading wide receiver is Tyrell Williams, who's played. I don't even think he's played yet this year. I think he's still in IR somehow. They haven't used Amon-Ra St. Brown up until the last couple of weeks the way that they should have. Like I said, TJ Hawkinson's still there. He's their only threat. DeAndre Swift, has been incredible this year. Outside of DeAndre Swift and Hawkinson, they're terrible. But yet somehow they play all these close games and, end up beating Minnesota. I think that game was in Minnesota.
It was in Minnesota, yes.
Like Dan Campbell, he's like the Gardner Minshew of head coaches.
It's just amazing. It's rare that you see a team so bought in when they're losing by that margin.
Yeah, the Jags have more wins than them, and there's a lot more problems coming out of the locker room in Jacksonville than there are in Detroit.
Yeah, so kudos to Dan Campbell and keeping that team together and that team. Congratulations again on your first win. You're going to go to Denver, and you're going to, I'm calling it, win again. The Lions are going to go into Denver and win. I said it here. They are going to win another close game, and it may even come down to the last drive of the game. But I'm going 24-21. Detroit Lions.
No way the Lions are scoring 24 points on the road against that defense. However, 13-10 Denver. Denver's offense seems to be a little bit, like hit or miss sometimes. Last week, Javonte Williams being the bell cow back for the first time in his career, absolutely incredible game. Bright future for Denver. However, Teddy Bridgewater's not it, and he'll find a way to keep this game close somehow.
I'm still going Lions. 4:25 game. 6-6 Niners. This is the game you want to talk about, or the team anyway. At the 7-5 Bengals. Interesting game because if the Bengals win and the Ravens lose, the Bengals are number one in that division. Go.
So this is an interesting game because if you want to talk about momentum, we talked last week that it was a battle of who I think was the best quarterback versus the number one overall pick of the last year's draft class, Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. And Justin Herbert came out and absolutely ripped that defense apart. Touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, completion after completion after completion. And the Chargers defense did just enough to slow the Bengals offense down in the first half. Joe Mixon surprisingly didn't do anything against one of, if not the league's worst run defense.
I think they're ranked 29th.
What? Yeah, I think they were ranked 31st before last week. So
there you go.
Yeah, so they kept Joe Mixon in check very, very well. But Justin Herbert just went out and absolutely dominated that game. The Bengals have been up and down. However, the 49ers, they were like 1-5 at one point, and they like very quietly are working their way back into the playoff race. this is a team where basically Jimmy Garoppolo knows that this is his last shot with this team. They drafted Trey Lance, number 3 overall. He's probably good. He was always going to sit this year. He wasn't necessarily ready to take on the NFL, starting quarterback role. However, he's probably going to take it next year. So Jimmy Garoppolo is doing a great job of leading this team, back into the playoff race. Team, like I said, it's very quietly doing it because they're in a division dominated by the Rams and the Cardinals. So as far as who wins the game, I think it's going to be the Bengals. I think it's going to be high scoring in the 30s, 35-31, something like that. But I think that's going to be one of the better games on schedule because of the way these teams are trending.
So you want to hear the crazy thing? I just looked it up, so I'm confident in this. If the Niners and the Washington football team lose, the Eagles not playing this week get into the playoffs scenario. But the Niners and the Washington football team have to both lose.
Niners might lose. I'd feel more confident in the Niners losing than Washington losing.
I'm going the Bengals on this one as well. 49ers did not look great last week against a bad Seahawks team. As you pointed out, Russell Wilson hasn't looked the way Russell Wilson should look. And like I said, the Niners just did not look good against that team, and it's a division rival. It's really hard for me to believe that Shanahan didn't have his team ready to go for a rivalry game. So for me, while the Niners they started off 3-0, they really slid there. Now they're 6-6. They just don't have it. They don't have enough for me to say that they're going to go to Cincinnati and win against the Bengals. So give me the Bengals, probably 27-21. I could see 27-17 even. So, yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to give the Bengals defense that much credit when what just happened to them last week happened.
Justin Herbert is not – Jimmy Garoppolo is not Justin Herbert.
Yeah, but the 49ers can run the ball too.
Okay. Elijah Mitchell.
Shanahan's a much smarter coach than Brandon Stanley, I think it is.
That's fine. But like I said, Elijah Mitchell's out, so.
Yeah, that's true. But Jeff Wilson, JaMychal Hasty, they'll find a way.
Okay. America's game of the week, and probably one of the ones I'm definitely going to watch. So Buffalo loses last week to the New England Patriots in that windstorm that was in Buffalo, and Mac Jones threw the ball 1 time.
3 times.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 times. And Buffalo loses that game 13-10. Wow.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm glad this game is on the docket where it's at, so we can have a really brief conversation. My old man sent us a picture on Facebook, and I said we would discuss it on the show. It was a picture of Tom Brady on the left and Bill Belichick on the right, and it said, "How crazy would the NFL be if these two met in the Super Bowl?" And here's my response. The NFL is rigged if these two teams meet in the Super Bowl. I'm calling it right now. I love the NFL. I love watching the NFL. Rigged. Sorry, but rigged. But the Bucs have not looked as dominant as their 9-3 record shows at almost any time this season. They've gone out. They go out. They just barely beat the Cowboys in Week 1. They lose to the Washington football team. Kudos to the football team for coming out and beating them. But the Buccaneers have not been that same team that they were in last year, especially finishing out the season. And Bill Belichick is a great coach. Mac Jones looks really good. So while I do think that one or the other team could get to the Super Bowl if they both make it, I'm going to be pleading rigged for the next 10 years.
Let me get this straight. We're doing this again. The Buccaneers finished at 11-5 last year and got walloped by the Saints twice.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't look good. They barely beat people. They couldn't even beat the Saints. They're not even the best team in their own division. They win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got hot at the right time, and Tom Brady's their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Belichick, widely considered the best coach in the NFL, is leading the hottest team in the NFL right now. They're, 6-7 games in a row?
Yep, 7. Yep.
Absolutely possible both these teams make it to the Super Bowl without the NFL being ready.
I don't want to see it.
Absolutely possible.
I don't want to see it.
Just because you don't want to see it doesn't mean it's not true.
I didn't say it couldn't happen. I'm just saying that I don't want to see it. And if it does happen, I'll be the kind of person that's like the NFL's rigged. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but there's definitely evidence against that statement. We
There's
said all
evidence
the
because
things-
the NFL is
the
rigged,
things-
and there's evidence because the NFL is rigged, and they can make it look like both teams are good. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
said all the same things last year about the Bucs. So if they do it again while not looking great in the regular season, lightning can strike twice in the same spot.
I just don't want to see it, and I'll be one of those people preaching rigged.
I mean,
No.
I
having said that,
want to see it.
Having said that, that would be a heck of a game.
Actually, yeah, right now, say the Super Bowl's right now, it's the Bucs and the Patriots. Who wins that game?
Right now,
Yeah.
woo, Belichick. In a neutral area, Belichick.
Where the hell is the Super Bowl this year?
LA?
Is it?
With a question mark. LA with a question mark.
Hey, one of you guys in the comments tell us that.
Yeah, help us out. Dad says the Pats also. It is in LA. I was right. It's in the Charger Stadium.
Go ahead and give me the Bucs if they were to play today in the Super Bowl.
If they're playing today, I'm going Belichick and the Patriots.
That'd be a heck of a game, though.
It would be a heck of a game. I don't care who wins it. I'm still gonna yell rigged. But it would be a heck of a game.
But yeah, no, I can see why people would say that. However, I also see the definite possibility that now, mind you, I don't think either of those teams makes the Super Bowl. That's my prediction.
Me neither. So I'm glad we're at least on the same page there.
But
there was another
happen without the NFL being rigged. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
He also sent another picture.
I know. I'm looking for it now. Actually,
I know. I actually had it up in my mind before we went on that little that one right there.
Okay.
What was it? Totally spacing out on it.
Me too. I'm just looking for the. Hey, oh man, send us the other question again.
Oh, Sean McDermott. Does Sean McDermott get fired if the Bills miss playoffs?
Oh yes, that is
Super Bowl or something like that.
So, very specifically, if the Buffalo Bills do not make the playoffs, there's a far better chance than if they don't make it to the Super Bowl. But no, I don't think Sean McDermott gets fired. Most of the reason I feel this way is because he's a defensive coach, and the defense is number one in the league. So the offense is struggling. Josh Allen is struggling. They don't have a running game. Singleton's garbage. Moss is garbage. Singletary, I'm sorry.
Spiller.
Let's say that again.
Isaiah Spiller. The
They don't have a running attack on the offensive side of the football. So, no, I don't think Sean McDermott gets fired, primarily because they're the number one defense in football and because he's a defensive-minded coach. So, no, I don't think that McDermott gets fired. Now, will they be looking for a new offensive coordinator in the offseason? That's likely.
Yeah, I think depending on the finish for the Bills, I think they make the playoffs. I think Josh Allen's too talented of a quarterback. He's made far greater strides than anybody thought he could. And like you said, the defense is number one. I think they make the playoffs. Let me start out with that. However, I think depending on how far they get is dependent on how hot the seat gets for Sean McDermott. If they get eliminated in the first round, seat's pretty warm. But they will. I think he makes the adjustments, like you're talking about, finds a new either quarterback coach or offensive coordinator, something along on that side of the ball, change things up. They make a big splash in the draft, free agency, whatever the case may be. I think also at the same time, the front office in Buffalo realizes that their running game is porous. And like I just said, Isaiah Spiller's coming out in the draft, running back for Texas A&M. Let's make that happen for them. That'd be a huge addition because Josh Allen cannot continue to be their leading rusher.
Yeah, agreed.
But I don't think he gets fired either. I think they'd have to look absolutely horrendous over the last 5 weeks or so.
And I don't think that's going to happen. Look, I don't think they go into Tampa and win tomorrow. So they probably come out of that game 7-6, but I think they can win the rest of their games for the season. They do play the Patriots one more time. But yeah, so give me the Buccaneers tomorrow against the Bills. Probably a close game, but a high-scoring game, 31-28.
I'd put a bet down that Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State's not even a first-round pick.
The reason Ryan's saying that. We can check the odds after this, and we can talk about it.
Mm-hmm. But is that the next game, the Bills and the Bucks?
Bills and Bucks, yeah, sorry. That's where we got on a little tangent there.
In Tampa?
In Tampa.
Yeah, I like the Bills on a rebound, actually.
Bills on a rebound. Okay, cool. Look,
that'll be a shootout game.
I'm a Josh Allen fan. I would love to see the Buccaneers.
I'm not going to blink if you tell me that game ends with a total of like 85 points. Not even going to blink.
That would be awesome. Those are the best kind of games to watch when it's just like constant scoring. I love that.
But when you're in a scenario like the Bills were in last weekend, the Bills were always destined to lose that game because of the weather. As we've touched on before, no ground attack whatsoever, and the Patriots can dominate the game on the ground. They have been. Mac Jones has been effective. He's not been Josh Allen. Like, he's not a superstar by any means, but he's been effective because they've had a great balance of run and quick passing attacks, whereas Josh Allen's a big-time playmaker. He wants to push the ball downfield. He wants to run himself. But when you're not dropping back to pass, you can't really do that. So the Bills were always destined to lose that game just based on the weather and the game play that would have had to come into play with it. But, yeah, yes, really, old man, I do not think that Kenneth Walker will be a first-round pick. Not at all. Yeah, so I think Bills in a rebound. Big-time game, big-time shootout.
Awesome. Cool. For a Sunday night football game, 4-8 Bears visit the Green Bay Packers at 9-3. I got the Packers here. Aaron Rodgers is just going to do what he does with the Bears constantly, and the Packers are going to win.
Yep, the Bears are on Sunday night football because each team has to play one primetime game. That's about it.
And the Monday night game is going to be a great one. The Los Angeles Rams,
they're getting it this time,
are visiting the Arizona Cardinals, and I agree. I believe the Rams go into Arizona and get themselves a W. Who's giving us some frowny faces? Al, talk to your aunt. She's giving me a frowny face. Yeah, so, again, I think the Rams go into Arizona and they win. Huge scoring game. So I'm talking
minimum 75 points scored between two teams.
I'm calling 85. It's gonna be a lot of points scored. And I mean, I look forward to watching it.
I'm hoping for something along the lines of that Rams-Chiefs game that happened a few years ago.
Yeah,
105 points.
That would be an amazing game to watch, especially on Monday night. That'd be amazing. So yeah, Rams go in, they win. I'm calling 40. I don't think there's any field goals being kicked here. So 49, 42, 49, 45, something like that.
Yeah, wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't bat an eye at it.
All right.
So that being said, we're up over an hour now.
Oh yeah, we are, aren't we? All right, so you want to do some closing thoughts? I don't know how.
Yeah, so there are more big things to come from Bsing Sports. Our website is up. You can look at it, bsingsports.com. Bill and his wonderful IT team over there is putting in great work on it. Slowly but surely, it's coming along. I'm not really involved with that because I work a weird schedule and way too many hours. We're getting there.
So in case you guys didn't hear Ryan correctly, first time we're announcing it live. We now own the domain for bsingsports.com. We own it. It's ours. We are officially a media outlet. Congratulations to us. We are going to try and write more articles for you guys to read. We're going to try and start getting into games. Probably start small with like college games and spring training baseball and stuff. And then work our way up. But yeah, so Ryan and Bill over here at Bsing Sports really trying to work our way up here. And big things.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Bsing Sports. But like I said, there's more to come. There's more to come with the individual shows as well. I have a surprise for Bill. I'm not even going to reveal to him, but I'm working on something big over here since he is doing a lot of work on the website. Without really much help from me, I figured I should return the favor and go ahead and make my own big moves for the show.
Yeah, well, if it bothered me, I'd let you know.
All right, that's all for us this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming out. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Tell your friends' friends about us. Tell your friends, tell their friends and their friends about us. Just send it down the line, guys. Any support is appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. Everything that Ryan just said there. You don't even know somebody, tell them to listen to our show. I don't care. The more the merrier. And we love the comments section. We appreciate you guys coming back constantly and then listening to us. But like we already reiterated once or twice, really big things coming from us here at Bsing Sports. And the website is very incomplete. Let me start that. The website is very incomplete, but there is a podcast button that you can click and it'll take you right to our podcast over on YouTube. So subscribe there. And thanks, guys, and have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.